We're going to start our first panel off on the topic of esports and the road to traditional or official sports. So please join me in welcoming our panelists to the stage. Mr. Vlad Marinescu, current president of Rsportz and former general director of Sport Accord. Mr. J. Shin, esports manager of Smilegate and former general manager of the International Esports Federation. Mr. Tim Reichert, head of esports division of FC Schalke 04 Bundesliga football team. Mr. Yanfei Li, deputy general manager of WCA. And lastly, Mr. Colin Webster, board member of IeSF and secretary general of Mind Sports South Africa. Please be seated. So our first panel discussion will be on on esports and the road to official sports and the officiating of esports. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I think the first thing that we need to discuss about this is what esports needs to be recognized as an official sport, both on the national and international levels. So if I can start down at the very end of the panel, why don't you try to let us know what some of the difficulties and challenges have been with transitioning esports to official sports. I think we'll be getting you a means of telling that to us here in any moment. So if we can have a microphone up here, or maybe I can just pass my microphone down. Looks like that's the best option.
Yes, as far as the IeSF is concerned, it's basically an association of member federations. The format of it is very much the same as what you would find in any other sporting body. So it is an association of members for members. And through that sort of system, you're actually able to have a wide reach across the world in terms of delivery. And there's obviously going to be a lot of projects designed that way in order to deliver to member nations, in order to bulk up the federations themselves and to deliver to gamers.
All right, thank you very much. The steps needed to be recognized as a sport is something that's also maybe a little bit unclear. So if I could direct this to Vlad, maybe talk a little bit about the maybe some of the definitions of what is a sport and what is an e-sport, and some of the difficulties transitioning between the two.
First of all, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to have this discussion. To start out, I think it's very right that we start by defining what actually is a sport, what defines a sport. So a sport is an activity that the youth can do to educate themselves, generally in 3 different ways: socially, mentally, and there should be a physical component. As we know, of course, in health and also in esports at the highest level, I was very pleased to learn yesterday from Colin through discussion that the elite esports athletes are also doing some physical activity in between their training for their electronic games, which, from what I understand, is just as difficult, just as vast, just as demanding as any other professional sport. So clearly, esports is a sport. There's no question about it. It takes dedication. The athletes must convince themselves and work full-time on this objective. And of course, next to it, the socialization aspect was something very pleasing to see as well yesterday at the big convention, the hundreds of thousands of followers and community who are enjoying to be part with the athletes, to follow them, and as a result, of course, a huge business opportunity. And as the steps, not to miss the second question, Of course, there are international fora and there are different organizations that recognize and give the legitimacy to international federations. I was before Director General of Sport Accord, which is the organization, the union of all international sport federations. And inside Sport Accord, there are 4 groups. The Summer Olympic Federations, which are 28 international federations. The Winter Olympic Federations, that are 7. The ARIFs, which are the recognized by the International Olympic Committee federations, that are 34. And the rest of them are members of AIMS, the Association of Independent Members of Sport Accord. Now, the application process, the Sport Accord has been made, and I think that it's just a question about filling some final details and having the recognition of some of your national federations to be approved by ministries of sport or national Olympic committees, as well as reviewing the process of acceptance into AIMS. But it's very, very important for the international federation to gain that legitimacy.
All right, and directing the next question to Mr. Shin. As far as your role transitioning into more of a game developer, what are some of the challenges that you see in transitioning esports that games will be a part of to the recognition of official sports?
Okay, so after I moved to the Smilegate, one of the IP holders, what I felt is that most of game companies just regard the esports as one of the marketing tools of their games. But I think that they disregard the importance of their players actually. So I think that this is one of the reasons that to make the esports as recognized sports is necessary. So for example, the game company is hosting their own esports events, but with their huge amount of money, but they do not guarantee to upgrade the social value of the players. So actually the esports fans admires the professional esports players, but they are still just a gamer or even the prize money hunter or something. So actually we have the huge number of the esports fans right now, but they are still the small portion of the whole human beings. So to upgrade the value of the player is the most important, I think. And this is what the IP holder or game company cannot do by themselves. So this is the one thing that this is the only the things that only IeSF can do. So that's what I feel after I'm moving to the game companies.
Right, so definitely a lot of interrelations between game companies, players, organizers, and then national and international federations to completely mesh esports with traditional sports. So moving on to another very important point, the potential synergies between traditional sports and esports. It's definitely a new thought that's being thought, and I'd like to direct this conversation to Mr. Tim Reichert in his role doing exactly that, meshing esports and traditional sports. If you could share with us some of your thoughts on the synergies there.
First of all, I have to agree to what my colleagues here did say about esports as a sport. We as Schalke 04 totally agree with that. Me, from a personal point of view, totally agree with that. I played back in the days, it was kind of 15 years ago, I played Quake on the highest level. I played professional football. So I do know what kind of needs you have as a pro player. Both sides are, you need to be super eager, you need to have talent, you need to have passion. And at the end, I think sports is most likely about competition, about winning and losing. And that's what football is about, that's what basketball is about, and that's what esports is about. From the grassroots, from the lowest level in football, from the lowest level in esports. If you play with your friends, it's up to, you will win or you will lose, or you lose, you don't want to lose. Same with football. So from that point of view, it was a clear step and a clear decision, a commitment from Schalke 04 to esports, to see esports as a sport.
So then what were some of the synergies that Schalke 04 discovered as they branched out into esports between that and the traditional sports club that they already were?
yeah, we are trying to implement all of our knowledge, what we gained in the past 50, 60 years from football, into the esport teams, kind of getting them into a better physical shape. We think of to have a healthy body, a healthy lifestyle brings you to better performance. Same in football, same in esports. So we try to bring our knowledge to our players, to our teams. Same with mental coaches. Same with what kind of all the knowledge we have in-house built up for the football department. We try to use for the esport department for sure.
Absolutely, and if I could just introduce, or I'll let you do the introduction. Our representative from Sina Sports to talk about the synergies there.
The chair magically appeared after the panel started. Hello? Yeah, my name is Dan. I'm originally from the U.S., but I've been in Beijing for about 5 years. I work for Sina Sports. We are China's largest sports digital media platform, and so I'm coming from the rough morning. I'm coming from the sports media platform perspective. Obviously, our fans that are coming to Sina Sports are traditional sports fans watching basketball, football. So, I was very interested in what Schalke is doing, and Tim and I had a chance to have a conversation before the panel. What we really see the opportunity in esports in China is to do cross-promotion and cross-channel promotion, and so what Schalke is doing gives us that exact opportunity, because they're utilizing their sports brand and affiliation and a brand loyalty towards the football team, and creatively and innovatively taking the brand, putting it onto an esports team. And so you're able to both have the sports fans that are loyal to Schalke maybe have a chance to be interested in following that team in a different light in esports. They might not understand the esports games. They might not understand what exactly they're watching, but they know that they support Schalke. On the flip side, you're also able to have the esports participants, those fans that are not necessarily traditional sports fans, to build an association with the team. And so, I think I'm interested to see where those concepts are going. I think it's very innovative. It's very early. Not too many of the teams or the clubs are utilizing this strategy, but it all comes down to marketing. I think if you have traditional sports fans that are saying that they want to see this type of content, that they're able to take the loyalty they have to their traditional sports teams and show an interest in esports simply through that. It's very creative and innovative, and at Sina Sports, we're very interested in discussing with the esports community how to best strategize to really pull in esports participants and fans to become traditional sports fans, and vice versa. I think China's a very good market to start experimenting with these concepts, cross-channel promotion, because China right now is in the midst of a huge drive to grow the sports industry, the traditional sports industry. But if they can see an opportunity to bring in new fans from the gaming world that can help achieve those goals, I think the resources would be immense to be able to help the development of esports as well in this country.
Thank you very much, Dan, for sharing some of those synergies. One of the final points that we wanted to discuss as far as relating traditional sports or official sports to esports is the need for regulation. It's very apparent in traditional sports that regulation is very necessary. It has a lot of great benefits, but as esports is still coming into its own and maybe being related to official sports, maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the needs for regulation there. I know, Vlad, you dealt extensively with larger esports regulatory opportunities, so maybe you could talk about some of the importances there.
Or traditional sport regulators. So thank you. I think it's important to decide or to talk about why is there a need for an international federation and to link that to regulation, because one of the main directions or obligations or duties of an international federation is regulation, cross-sport and global, cross-discipline and global. So if you have a certain number of games, the regulation that regulates, let's say, the activity or the rules of participants at the grassroots level all the way to the elite level, has to be made by an international body, such as the IeSF. Now, what is the reason that the International Federation should work so hard and should fight so hard against all the people who are so embedded into the esports industry, from the IP holders to the event organizers to everybody with the live broadcasters? Well, the reason is because they are the only ones that are completely transparent with the objective of protecting the athletes. And the people who are playing esports are, in fact, athletes. They need to have a direction, and they need to have a rule set for them to protect them from being overused, overdrained, that after they finish their professional career, when they're 19 years old, they cannot stop the shaking because they've been spending hours and hours without eating properly or without training properly alongside of their esport regulations. So the main objective of an international body is to unite all the industry leaders, everybody, all the stakeholders in the esport community, to protect the athletes, to set the rules, and the last part is legitimacy. Because if the entire industry is united, and not from a corporate sense, but from a not-for-profit, good-causing sense, then you can have the recognition by the various ministries of sport or Olympic committees around the world. And what does that mean for each person, each athlete inside each country? It means that, first of all, they have access to financial resources to help them travel around the world and participate. And secondly, they have access to all the programs that are being generated by that country for post-career opportunities, training opportunities, and the last and final one is that they have respect and recognition as an actual athlete.
All right, thank you very much. Move into more of our conversational part of today's panel, because it's not just us each individually talking. The point of tonight's conference is just to come together and have these kind of conversations. So maybe starting down at the end with Dan, we can start to talk about maybe some individual opinions and just share our thoughts on the bridging the gap between esports and official sports.
Well, sure. I mean, again, I'll reiterate from my earlier comments. I think it's really about marketing, public relations, and from a media standpoint, you know, our platform as a media provider can be an asset, but we need help from the gaming community. We need help from the esports community to strategize about how to best leverage our media platform. You know, Sina Sports is a part of a larger a larger web portal, Sina.com. If you're in China, obviously, you're much more familiar with who we are. But we do have a gaming division. We do have coverage of VR. We have coverage of gaming on our platform. But it's very much separate from our traditional sports coverage. The fans that are coming, the users that are coming to our platform are very different than the ones that are reading the news about the gaming community and the esports community. I do see potential, as I was saying with Tim, and what Schalke is doing for utilizing traditional sports brands, developing content around that's esports related, associated with a traditional sports brand that can be utilized to do cross-channel promotion and bring in new fans from the gaming world to watch traditional sports and vice versa. But you know, we need to have help from the gaming community, frankly, to develop content, to work with us to figure out, you know, how to develop the content that's going to be most relevant to traditional sports fans. I think sports fans, if they're going to start growing an interest in the sports, that will be fodder for the leaders of the esports community to use to show the value of the sport worldwide and kind of push the envelope further into making esports more thought of conceptually as a traditional sport.
Anyone else have anything to add to that about bridging the gap between traditional sports or official sports and esports?
Well, yes. In fact, I've always seen a great deal of similarity between the traditional sport and of course, esports. What you're really just looking at is competition and how you actually look after the people who actually do it. Because at the end of the day, the international federation and the national federations are more concerned with people, or should be more concerned with people and their own personal advancement. Through the IeSF and its national federations, it means that you're able to get into the schools and to actually develop the sport right at grassroots level. and to get people to understand the importance of development in a proper way. And that's where you're looking at a very close synergy between the two. That's where it starts. Also from a point of view that through a proper structured approach, people can actually then get a better form of education and develop career paths that may be related to the sport, but also may not be. And what you're doing is, again, just promoting people. That's what we're all about.
All right, I'd like to give an opportunity for Mr. Li from WCA to share his thoughts on esports and the road to traditional sports as well.
哎，你好，请我的同事帮我做一下翻译，好
I
吧
will translate for him.
OK
Alright, guys.
是这样，其实我刚才听了各位嘉宾的演讲，都非常的有意义。其实，在昨天的酒会的时候，我也跟一家游戏的运营商有过深度的沟通。
After I listening to all of your words, I think it's very meaningful. And in fact, last night when we held a cocktail, I've also talked with a gaming company.
首先呢，我非常同意刚才我们提到的一个观点，叫以人为本。那其实也是针对这个话题，我昨天跟那个厂商，然后聊了一下，就是他们其实是希望说把未来自己的第一方的比赛拿出来一部分，然后来放到这种就是我们今天讨论的是放给第三方赛事，还是说放给我们的这一个中立的一个机构去经营？因为这个信号表现出来的是，他希望能够把他自己做的这个体育赛事能够向传统去靠拢，因为他也意识到了，就像我刚才 PPT 里面讲的问题，就是他无法去经营这个东西，所以他希望能够寻求第三方的协助。
I just gave you the summarize is that Mr. Yanfei is quite agree with the set people as the fundamentalist. And last night and during the cocktail, he's discussed with the gaming company, and the game company also expressed that they want to let their products to be connect with the esports, and because esports is on the road to the official sports. Because that's the way they find.
就是当他意识到这个问题的时候，我觉得这个行业就对了，就应该是朝着正确的方向去发展了。因为刚才我也讲到了第一方赛事它的瓶颈，就是它不能做到以人为本，因为它的利益点在于它游戏的这个本身的收益，而不在于说参与它赛事的这个选手的这个收益。所以当他意识到这个问题，我们觉得这是非常好的一个现象。
I realized that I realized that the gaming company, they have the conscience is quite quite right, and because I think the gaming companies nowadays they face some problems is that they cannot set the people as the fundamentalist.
然后我刚才非常同意沙克04说的这个把传统体育的品牌引入到电子竞技。我觉得这是一个非常好的一个思路当然在这里面我要提的一点是，除了我们要这个把现在比较流行的这个传统体育的品牌引入到电竞之外，我们希望能通过我们的这个组织和机构，能够培养出一些新的这样的俱乐部和品牌。
I also quite agree with that the traditional sports can coincide with the esports industry, and I also quite agree that we could train that more people or like we hold some trainings for this industry.
因为就像刚才我说的，以中国为例，我们现在的这个电竞的用户的群体，可能就是截止到我这一代人。也就是30岁左右。那
China, for example, and the users of the Chinese is just like my age, is more or less around the 30s.
那么我觉得当这个 电子竞技这个事情从7岁到70岁的人都知道这个电子竞技的时候，或者都认可这个电子竞技模式的时候，那么我觉得这个时代才能真正的来临。
When the esports come to a new era, that the era is the no matter is 7 years old or 70 years old, that people have the conscious to know that esports that will have a very bright future.
因为刚才我们新浪体育的这个同事也提到了，就其实传统体育是大家非常非常受欢迎的，但其实在中国你能够看到的，现在新一代的年轻人，也就是我们的90后、00后新一代的年轻人，他们除了传统体育的足篮、排球之外，可能更加喜欢的就是电子体育。
And just as Mr. Dan from Sina Sports said that the traditional sports it's very popular, but in my opinion, especially in China, those teenagers and the young people like 1990s generation or even 2000 years that they born, they are more quite fond of the esports compared with the traditional sport.
而从现在的整个大的市场环境看来，90后、00后是我们未来整个互联网市场消费的主力。
And from the whole marketing, and I think those young people are our target customers.
就像刚才提到的，钱确实是电子竞技的一个问题，就是让它能够成为传统体育的一个问题。
And just as we refer, that money is quite a problem that for the traditional sports.
所以就说对于资金，我们希望说不仅能够电子竞技不仅希望能够获取资金，同时我们也希望说能够从电子竞技上产生收益。
For the money, that's what we hope that esports not only that to let the investors to spend money on esports, but we also want to make profit from our esport.
因为只有这样一个闭环的循环和一个完好的一个电竞的生态链，才能够促使电竞朝着一个良性的方向去发展。
Because only we form this ecosystem and this circulation that we can let the esports industry into a very healthy manner.
所以我总结一下。
So let me summarize.
我希望厂商能够多放出一些游戏赛事方面举办的权限，和多一些对于这种比赛的支持。
And I hope the gaming companies could support the tournaments more and give us more space, especially for your products and disciplines, and to let us can use your products to hold the competition.
然后作为我们的这个像沙克04这样的传统的俱乐部，或者说传统的体育的这样的组织机构，能够多关注一下我们的电子竞技的这个行业，能够成立一些或者说帮助我们完善这个关于电子竞技的这个俱乐部或者联盟组织的构建。
And also, I also need the help from the traditional sports federation, and I hope you can pay more attention to the esports industry to help us to organize more federations, and we can go further.
同时呢，我们也希望像新浪体育这样的权威的传统体育的媒体机构，能够帮助电子竞技多做一些宣传和推广。
And I also ask for the traditional media like Sina Sports can help us to let more people to know what is the e-sport industry.
然后同时再加上像IeSF 这样的机构去协调各个成员国之间的这个关系。
And as well as like the International Esports Federation to help us to adjust the different to regulate and to set rules for different members and organizations.
然后最后就是像我们今天这样通过 WCA 能让大家坐在一起，我们能够去协调各方的资源来共同推进电竞，因为我认为电竞不是 一个机构能够做到的事情。
And last but not least, just like us today, we hold this summit to talk about and to communicate with each other, to share our resources together, to promote the esports industry together.
好了，谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one final closing comment before we finish things up.
Just very fast. The question was bridging the gap between traditional sport and esports. So first of all, I completely agree with the before comments, 100%. The community must be joined together with the industry behind the International Federation and the National Federation with the objective of having one unified voice to claim legitimacy and recognition from everyone inside the world, who is official sport, non-official sport, Olympic sport, non-Olympic sport, regardless of who they are. So you must be one united family. This is the first. And the correct organization who can unite you and who can take the voice forward for getting recognition is the International Federation, is one. And the second is about bridging the gap. What is the difference? What is esport missing compared to traditional sport? It's very simple. The physical component inside the game. Yes, there are mind games that have no physical component as well that are recognized. However, I truly believe that if you create proper regulation for the benefit of the athlete, obliging them to have, let's say, not obliging through rule and regulation, but maybe the star players making videos how they every day make a 30-minute jogging in order to be able to perform the best. You can motivate the youth to make auxiliaries side by side with their esport career, physical education. And secondly, technology as it's changing, as virtual reality is coming more and more, maybe that will be solved identically in real time in parallel. So with both directions, you are in a good way.
Absolutely, and we'll be touching on that a little
really
bit
quickly.
later
Sorry,
on.
I'd just like to add quickly that the media, again, that kind of content is exactly what I'm talking about. Education for traditional sports fans, for those that are not currently stakeholders or fans of the esports community. That's the kind of content that we could utilize in the media to be able to do the marketing and build fan bases and spread the message, do the PR work for the esports. So thank you for raising that, Vlad.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, and thank you all for listening to our panel on discussing the road from esports to traditional or official sports. Now I'd like to open the floor for a 5 to 10 minute Q&A session. So if you have any questions on this topic for any of our panelists or just in general, please raise your hand at this time and we'll direct you to get a microphone and ask your question.
We're shaking.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reid from Malaysia. I would like to ask to Mr. Vlad from Rsportz. In the world that we're living right now, we love the word free and open, and we are encouraged to live freely. So no one likes the word regulation. So how can we ensure that business can accept that it's important to put the players first compared to profit? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I enjoy very much to fight against the freedom, especially since I'm American. So, to your answer, regulation doesn't mean jail. It means against anarchy. And we are in a situation now where the corporation and the business side of sport is highly dominating the beauty, the health, and the spirit of the sport. And this imbalance requires some type of regulation to operate. Now, as you all know, depending on economics as well or in any industry, market economy is the best, but in some situations, for example, the country we are in today, you need to have some small regulation in place, some authority that can stop the crooks from stealing and put them in jail and stop the murders and stop the crimes. And that can allow the steady flow of correct people to succeed in that which they are working. So don't be afraid of regulation. It will save you and it will make you healthier and it will make you happier if it's done properly. And the beauty of a non-for-profit elected board representing national federations, as the IeSF, is that all of you can vote your leaders. Democracy. And there's the freedom.
Sorry, can I just add something there too as well? You've also got to realize that it's very important for you to actually represent people, that there is a bond between you, the federation, and the member. And without regulation, you will not have that bond. And it extends even further to the darker side, where in fact you have to also take discipline from time to time. You cannot take discipline against a gamer if there isn't that bond. And that bond comes through regulation. So regulation isn't something to be avoided. It's something that you should actually be very careful about implementing, because there's always unexpected outcomes. But it's something that must be cherished.
Absolutely. To have time for one more question, right over there.
Yeah, hi. My name is Christian Segershali. I work for Super Evil Megacorp, makers of Vainglory, today the largest and fastest growing touchscreen esports on mobile phones and tablets. And we've grown from nothing to now having millions of viewers every month and big esports, multi-esports teams playing the game across Europe and North America and Japan and so on. I have two comments and questions. Firstly, I think it's clearly the long-term viability of esports from an athlete's perspective is incredibly important. I really appreciated the comments on sustainability from Vlad earlier. I think it's something that we need to take super seriously as an industry. And we certainly haven't done well enough previously. That said, esports will evolve in ways that none of us can perhaps even imagine in this room. Right now, like the explosion of touchscreen gaming, for example, means that when we look at we have something like 2,000 or 3,000 teams engaged in Vainglory competitions across North America and Europe alone today. And there are actually, many teams are very young. When we did our spring championships, the youngest player was about 13 years old, because you know what? The finger mechanics of those touchscreen kids are just amazing. And those needs are very different from, say, the PC generation. And who knows what happens with virtual reality and other technologies moving forward. So one of my thoughts is that perhaps we should be very lightweight when it comes to regulation and very flexible to ensure that we understand that the way esports evolves will be very, very broad, and that if we think of esports as 5 people in front of PCs on a stage, perhaps that gives us the wrong framework for regulation. So that's the first thought. Second thought is real quick. I grew up as playing a lot of physical sports. One of the things about physical sports infrastructure is the amazing junior leagues and coaching frameworks and sort of how you just get connected to a coach. Esports is really hard. I tried to learn and get really good at League of Legends for a long time, and I still suck, and I think it's because I don't have a coach, right? So a lot of the traditional sports also, and esports, perhaps esports could learn from traditional sports this way also, through those junior leagues, if you like, and that sort of framework. Sorry.
Thank you very much for your comments. I think that's going to be the A in the Q&A, and the E, which is not involved in either one of those letters, is the end of our panel. So why don't you join me in giving our panelists a quick round of applause.